guys ready? Are we recording video? Awesome. Welcome to our side of the fence. I'm Tim Wells, Tim's Fencing, and today we are lucky to have Chain Free of Knoxville here with us today. We got Kyle and Julia with us. We've actually partnered up with them on many projects, as you'll hear, and we're just excited to dive into y'all and everything that you guys are doing for the community here, especially the dog community. And then here's Logan, and Logan is actually kind of our relationship between Tim's Fencing and Chain Free.
Absolutely.
So that's
absolutely. It's good to have y'all.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Well, let's just, for everybody that doesn't really understand exactly what you guys do, can you just give me a quick, what is Chain Free of Knoxville? What started Chain Free of Knoxville, and kind of what your guys' mission statement is?
Sure. So we build fences for dogs that are continuously chained or kept in small enclosures. We got started in 2021. We had some mutual friends connect us. They heard that we were all dog lovers, had a heart for chained dogs. And, we just kind of started driving down back alleys and saw that this was really a big issue in our community that we wanted to help address.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you guys say that you guys are mostly focused within the city limits of Knoxville, or is it the whole county, or a multi-county, multi-city in East Tennessee, or where are you guys at as far as physically speaking?
So we're primarily in the city, especially with the ordinance that passed last year. But we do have a wait list in the county, and periodically we'll do fences in the county as well, and are looking to expand into the county further, and hopefully regionally at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. And so how did you get started with Chain Free? A little bit about you personally. Let's rewind just a hair. A little bit about you, Julia, and then Kyle as well. Like, what's the connection?
So during COVID, I had just had a baby and I was bored, honestly. And I had heard about Johnson City and what they were doing for chained dogs up there. And I thought, well, surely we don't have chained dogs in Knoxville. And then I started driving around and I started noticing chained dogs everywhere that I looked. And so there was actually a neighborhood group of mine that I had connected with some people about a chained dog near our neighborhood, and they connected me with one of our other co-founders, Jana.
Yeah. And
she was just retiring and wanting to start something similar, so we connected that way.
Yeah, and for me, Lauren Ryder, she's one of our council women here in the city of Knoxville. So I'm friends with her, and she mentioned to me one day in passing that Jana had or Julia, I believe, you had contacted her asking about if there's anything that the community could do in regards to our ordinance and the amount of chained dogs in our community. And so she said, maybe you need to connect up with Julia, and I did, and here we are 3 years later.
That's awesome.
Wow. And how long have we been involved with y'all?
I think we've been probably about 2 years.
Actually,
from the beginning.
You were the very first fence we ever did. Was at Tim's Fencing.
Cool.
Yep, back in September of 2021.
Very cool. That is.
Yeah. So that was a situation where they had a partial fence already. So you guys came in and just finished it out for us. And at that point, we were still trying to get our bearings in terms of how we were going to make this work, and how were we actually going to go build fences? I mean, we threw around so many ideas in the beginning, like, do we work with a professional fence building company for every build? Do we actually learn how to do professional, like, permanent installs ourselves? And then finally we settled on what we do now for the majority of our builds, which is a removable or relocatable system with 10 foot chain link panels.
Yeah.
But you guys, you're the very first build.
That's cool that y'all just had a passion for something and just figured it out along the way and whatever you needed to do, and it's blossomed for sure.
Yeah, we did have a little bit of help because there are a few other organizations like us around the country. So Off the Chain in Georgia, they had a little template, a PowerPoint that they were nice enough to give us. And then we lucked out, and we had a volunteer approach us who used to volunteer for them. And so she had a lot of the fence building knowledge that we did not have at that time. So she is still with us today, and one of our most loyal volunteers, and has taught us a lot of what we know.
Yeah.
Y'all even I think you do, once you do covers, you end up doing the covers and like making a bed for them and stuff like that too. I don't think it just stops at the fence every time.
Yeah, so we do. So even prior to the build, we have some requirements. Our primary requirement is that the dog is spayed or neutered, and we do pay for that as well, if needed. And then during the build, we provide a minimum 800 square foot enclosure. And sometimes they can be a lot bigger than that because we really try to tie into the house for several reasons. One, especially if there's a back door or a side door, that gives the owner more access to the dog. And the dog becomes more a part of their family because when they open the door, the dog is there, versus sometimes we find that dogs get put, in the far back of the yard and they become a bit forgotten.
Right.
But then also by tying into the house, we can make the fence sometimes significantly bigger because we can use the panels, instead of using them for a side, we can use them to make the enclosure larger.
Yeah.
And then we provide a canopy, and we also provide an igloo and an elevated bed, lots of toys, treats, things like that. And we do also offer a training session to owners, a free with the trainer, just in case some of the issues that are keeping the dog outside are behavioral, and perhaps the trainer can work with the owner to get those resolved, give them the tools that they need to get that dog inside the house.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Now, when you guys are evaluating a potential dog that would be getting a fence from y'all, would you say there's commonalities? Because, it's got my brain thinking. And, Sarah and I, for instance, have had the opportunity to live, from far east side of Knoxville to far west to far north since we've been here in Knoxville. So we've kind of seen the different areas. And, obviously we work all over the greater Knoxville area too. And it does seem to me like I don't see a whole lot of small dogs on chains. It's typically a larger dog. But do you think this is a lot of times that, people might get a puppy and the puppy just keeps growing and keeps growing. They haven't hashed out the time for any training or any house obedience? Or do you think a lot of times these are pets that are just, they've adopted from somebody else thinking that they're helping the dog, getting it out of a worse situation to a better? I mean, what would you say, like, there's probably got to be top 5 commonalities, and maybe even it's cultural, maybe there's just cultural differences from, we live in this amazing country where, there could be people from, Central America or Europe or even, north of the border in Canada. And, I know that just depending on what environment you were raised around can definitely change your opinion on like a dog's place. Like we were in Jamaica, I got the opportunity to visit Jamaica, and, I'll tell you what, like dogs just run free there. There's dogs everywhere you go. They're along the streets, they're outside the markets, all of that. But I mean, can you guys talk a little bit about that? Like, what are you guys seeing as just reasons that, that these caretakers of these pets are finding themselves having to resort to having the dog on the chain?
I think you've touched on a lot of the reasons already. A lot of times it is behavioral. Maybe the dog got big. They didn't have sufficient training. A lot of times the dog may not be housebroken. Sometimes it can be that they've got small kids in the house and the dog jumps, and it was cool when it was a puppy, but now it's big, so we got to put it outside. We don't have a fence, so we chain it up.
Yeah.
A lot of times it is cultural. People don't want the dog in the house. Many of the people that we build fences for do have other pets inside the home.
Okay.
So that has been an interesting realization. And sometimes it's that they have small dogs inside and then they have a big dog they put out. But sometimes we've had small dogs that are out on a chain as well. And I think you guys have actually built a couple of fences for those because they don't need quite as big of a space as our larger dogs. And so that's a really good opportunity for us to get you guys to help us out when they're smaller.
Yeah, and to Julia's point, a lot of times it is behavioral. People find that they have issues housebreaking a dog. Again, that's where our trainer comes into play. So we hope that if that is the case, then maybe they can overcome that with some training. We do find sometimes it's cultural. But, like I always say, not every cultural norm is something that needs to stay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the evolution of society is that we start viewing things that were previously acceptable as perhaps no longer being something that we want a part of our society moving forward.
Absolutely. And just for me too, like, you know, like I'm originally from the Pacific Northwest, which you could imagine that, like, you know, the welfare of animals and humanitarian rights and animals and pets, you know, it's definitely a top thing. You know, it's even, you know, people have children later in life, you know, it's very much so young professional part of the country to where, you know, you're building your career, and then let's think about married, have kids, dogs, all that, you know. So, you know, I know personally when I'm talking about dogs, it's, you know, I think a lot of people resort to like, I own this dog, I own that dog. Like, really our job is to be the caretaker, you know, is to be the best proprietor of the animals that we're caring for, you know. And I even just think about, because we obviously talk about fencing for dogs all the time, and, you know, when Sarah and I moved this last time, it was probably 2 weeks after we moved until we got a fence. And I thought to myself, like, if we were housebreaking a dog right now, it'd be 3 times, 4 times more difficult, because you got to put that dog on a leash every single time.
Yep.
You got to walk it around, and then a lot of dogs don't want to use the restroom on the leash quickly, you know. And so, not that I'm excusing it or making it okay, but I could see the quick progression for somebody that, you know, they have this dog that's maybe grown up, you know, whether it's going to grow up to be 20 pounds or 50 pounds. But I'll tell you what, that 9th trip outside on the leash, like, I get that that's a tough situation.
Yeah, it's tough.
But man, and that's just awesome. And I'm thinking about a couple of the jobs that I've got to go out to and fence, and the dogs and the areas, and, you know, it's never been a situation to where I ever got the impression that, like, the homeowner, there was just no will to do it. But, like, as you guys know, like, fencing's a much more expensive service than many people realize. And that's just...
It is.
That is just a full circle realization, you know, that from getting the puppy to having the dog full grown, like, fencing really is, to me, first and foremost, like, protection for your dog.
Yep, and yeah, absolutely, and that's something sometimes people don't think about too, is that when they have a dog that's tethered outside or chained outside, like, they're also at risk for roaming animals, especially the smaller dogs, because they can't escape. They're tied up. But what is cool about the fences that we build is that you can relocate them. So when we've actually done that several times, people have moved, you know, we can take down the fence and reuse it. If they move somewhere that already has a fence, or if they need us to move the fence to, you know, their new location. We've had dogs, unfortunately, pass away that we've been able to take their fences and reuse them for other dogs too.
Yeah.
Yeah, do y'all have a circle back process? Like, I'd imagine it's positive, but like 6, 8 months, a year or something, and like, how does that work, or what does that look like, or is that even a thing?
We usually try and check in every 3 to 4 months.
Oh, wow.
They all have our telephone number. They can text us, call us if there's any issues. Sometimes a dog will start finding a new way to get out, and we have to go out and maybe install an extra bar somewhere, or chicken wire in an area, or say their canopy gets damaged. We go and replace that.
And actually, that's another Tim's thing you guys did for us, is we had a dog that kept getting out through his gates. He was like a little Houdini, and you guys went out and installed some super duper professional quality
razor.
fence. Razor. Yep.
Yeah, I remember that one.
But yeah, you guys have been really great, especially with we try and utilize you guys mostly for homeowners, where we know that, you know, the fence is probably going to stay there. But especially if there's an existing fence that needs repairs that we're not really capable of doing ourselves. Say there's one side that needs to be fenced in, like Ace, you remember a couple months ago.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was able to give him like way more space than we would have been able to do if we did fence panels. He probably has like 2,000 square feet in his yard now, which is amazing.
Absolutely.
And we do, you know, going back to this check-in question, so we do have people contact us on a regular basis. You know, we tell them, hey, this is not a relationship that ends when we walk away after the fence build. You know, this is something where we want to remain a part of your life as long as you are a dog owner, to, you know, make sure that you have everything you need and the dog has everything they need to live a healthy and happy life. And we do straw drives. We've done 2 so far. I mean, we've only been in existence 2 years, so
Annually we do.
yeah, annually we do them, and so we take that opportunity to go out and kind of check on our dogs too. So we deliver straw to the houses of not just the recipients of our fences, but dogs that might be on the waiting list, or people we're still working with to get them to apply. And we use that opportunity to check on the dogs too.
Yeah.
This year we
That's
did
great.
like over 200 dogs for our delivery, and
Really?
Wow.
we're only at about 100 and close to 120 dogs that we've built for. So really just trying to make those connections, trying to get more fences built.
Is it? I'm sorry, you go.
I was just going to say, what's that process look like? You're talking about people being on the wait list, or you're encouraging, the caretakers of these animals to apply. Can you kind of walk us through what that looks like from nothing to providing that sort of higher quality habitat for the animals?
Sure, I'll take a stab first. So each situation is different. I'll say that up front. We haven't ever had two that have been the same. So there are some situations where it can take months and months, 6 months or longer, to get that relationship established and work with the owner to give them something that they're comfortable with. And then there's some where they contact us and it's quick. Sometimes a holdup can be the spay and neuter, to get the dog first of all, some owners are a little hesitant to move forward with the spay and neuter. So there's those conversations that happen. And then once they agree, we have to get them into the clinic to get that done. And sometimes that can take, sometimes 6 weeks to get on that list.
Do you guys have a veterinarian partner in that?
We have gone through a vet before. We've used several different sources. Primarily, we use the low-cost spay and neuter clinic in the city. That has proven to be just the best for us, financially too, because since we do pay for that, and that's all funded by our donors' dollars, we want to make sure that we're using the most cost-effective and cost-efficient process that we can.
And is there some sort of number you could give us insight on? Like, what is that cost for you guys to be able to spay or neuter an animal? Because obviously I could see that being a financial strain from time to time for anybody.
It really depends on where the person we're helping's income status is.
Gotcha.
So if I believe if they're below the poverty line, then it's no cost to them. Correct. But then if they're above the poverty line, I think it's on a sliding scale.
Okay.
So it really does vary
Yeah.
person to person.
And then there are some situations where we've wanted to get it done quicker for various reasons, and then we'll go to a private vet and pay that, and that can be $100 some.
Okay.
And we're very transparent about our operating costs, just because we want our donors to know exactly where all their money's going. So it does cost, with the spay neuter, it does cost around $1,200 for each enclosure. Yep. And that includes not just the materials, but it includes that igloo we talked about, the elevated bed, the canopy, and all the fences are put up, well, besides the exception of the Tim's fences, they're put up by volunteers. So the labor is free. Yeah. But that's pretty much the all-inclusive cost, but that gets them a huge, sometimes, and if you watch my TikTok videos, you'll see that I mention this quite often. There are a lot of enclosures that are bigger than my house. And I love that. I love it. Every time we have one that's over 1,000 square feet, it makes me super happy.
What's the volunteer process look like, or how many volunteers, or how people can volunteer, or how y'all go about it?
So our volunteer list, when we send out the emails, probably like 200 people.
Wow.
But we have a core group of volunteers that come out to almost every build, or every second or third build. I'd say we probably have like 20 to 30 people that come out regularly, would you say?
I would say that. And oftentimes
That's a fence crew right there. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I wish I had that.
We
good
just
of a-
send
I
those
wish I had
out
that big of a
for
crew.
us. Yeah, wow.
And they do it for free.
I know, right?
You can't beat that.
We're very blessed in that oftentimes we turn people away, volunteers, because we have so many people that want to help, because it is such a unique volunteer opportunity in that it is a self-contained activity. So you go out there, you get to see the beforehand. You see the dog chained up or tethered, and in those conditions, you spend very easy labor. By the way, it's not that difficult. 2 hours or so to build the enclosure, and then you get to see the release, and you see the dog start their new life. So it's very unique in that aspect, and we have businesses as well that will come out and sponsor a fence, and then have their employees staff it as part of a team building or community outreach event. That's happened quite a few times now. Or just organizations, or just groups of people in our community who they might not have the money necessarily to sponsor the fence, but they want to come out and help. And so they come out as a volunteer group and do that with us. And of course, we always have a handful of our core people that can help guide them.
Yeah.
And
And
we even had a church recently.
Yeah, we had a
like,
church-
take
a
up
youth group.
collection plate
Yeah.
for us one Sunday, and then the youth group came out and built the fence.
Yeah.
we had the roller derby, the city of
Twice.
Knoxville, the
Yeah.
roller derby. So we've had it's been a very eclectic. We've had the whole scope of different volunteers that have come out and wanted to be involved.
Well, what did 2023 look like for you guys as far as like fundraising, donations? Like, did you guys have goals? Was it a prosperous year as far as donations went for you guys? Were all your needs met? You know, as a nonprofit, obviously, I know that's just,
Yeah.
you know, and you guys are dear to our heart. So, you know, I
Yeah.
feel bad that, you know, this wasn't something that I called y'all in September and been like, hey, we're approaching the end of the year. Like, is there anything y'all need? And
Well, you know, we've been blessed that we have. It's really just a cause that a lot of people feel passionate about.
Yeah.
And you know, we haven't. You know, maybe once we've actually gone out a couple times and actively tried to solicit funds. And you know, in the grand scheme of nonprofits, we are definitely small fry. We are little group. You know, we don't have any paid staff. We have all of our expenses are directly associated with the fence building. So we are just very small. Now, saying that, in 2024, we would love to, Julia and Janet and I would love to grow to the point where we maybe can get a paid staff member. I think that would really enable us to, my gosh, magnify our impact significantly, because at the end of the day, we're just, the three of us are just trying to juggle this amongst our normal lives. So yeah, we have been lucky in that we have been able to build all the fences that we've had the capacity to build. But again, hey, we will never turn away money.
yeah,
So please.
no, absolutely. Me either.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think especially for you all, it's just something, just with our involvement with you guys, and, it's like we also run into each other everywhere, for people who don't know, it's like, obviously our business is driven. Our business is very different. Like, I also very humbled by the fact that we're a for-profit business, everything like that. But this is part of the whole backside of it for Sarah and I, is just being able to be involved with companies like yours and others, but, running into you at all of the dog events that are put on,
Yeah.
whether it's UT or whoever else hosting the event, and just, honestly, I feel like I run into somebody related with y'all every once in a while, whether it's down at WATE or just in public at Home Depot. And for you guys just to be so community driven too, because the jobs that I've been a part of are in the same neighborhoods that built Tim's fencing. So
Yeah.
it's just one of those things where it's very feel good stuff. The people in those communities that I've been involved with on your all's projects are just, the kind of people that maybe they've been kicked while they've been down. Like, I truly believe that a lot of people that probably require your guys' services, have had an unfair hand of cards dealt to them. And it's just such an amazing, and you guys are thorough too. Like, hearing about your guys' process with the spay and neuter, like, that's all things I didn't realize went into every single dog that you all are trying to do your best for. So that's just, we could talk about spay and neuter for six months
Absolutely.
straight,
Well,
and it's need in the community.
You might not want to bring it up because it's a passion of mine that I think I might get on my soapbox a little bit about spay and neuter. So
But to be fair, so a lot of the females that we built for have had unwanted litters because, you know, they can't protect themselves if they're in heat. And then, you know, there you are, you've got a litter of puppies. And then where do those puppies end up? And so we feel really good about having spay neuter as part of our requirement for our program.
Absolutely. And you know, an unneutered male, you know, statistically, those are the ones that are, you know, that might be more dangerous in the community. So, and of course, they're more likely to want to escape and roam, and so all those things, all those benefits of spay and neuter. And of course, at the end of the day, too, it's healthier for your animal too.
Right.
I know that every dog probably has their own story, and every dog, I mean, even what I've seen, I know that there's some really great scenarios, but there's even the little that I've seen, there's been some rough scenarios. I think there was one day, I think me and Jana were there and just like seeing the situation, and I think I was tearing up a little bit. I think she was as well, to be honest. And so, I mean, not to like obviously drop names or anything like that, but I mean, just explaining a few, maybe not have to all be bad. I just imagine there's start to finish stories or good stories, or, you know,
Like, what's something that just sticks out in your, I mean, there's one in particular that was just an extremely, I couldn't have been more honored to be a part of the project just because of getting to watch the dog get released into the yard for the first time was something that was just hands down probably. I mean, anytime dogs got
amazing.
the zoomies, it just
It's amazing.
makes my heart butterfly. You know?
It really is to see that dog run for the first time in sometimes years.
That's true.
Is there just like a dog that you guys have thought, like, is there a dog that you guys talk about by name that's just like, remember, you know, whatever? Like, is there just one that just grasps your guys' heart, or maybe it's the first one or a recent one? Is there a story that's
There's
just
so many.
So many.
amazing?
I think all of them in their own ways, but
Yeah, definitely. You know, the young ones, of course, they get the zoomies, and that's like exciting to watch. And you're like, oh, great, they've got all this space to play. But for me, it's always the old ones that have been chained up like their
me
whole
too.
lives, and I'm like, oh, thank goodness that they just have this like, you know, area that they can just be a full dog for remainder of whatever time they have left. I mean, we've built fences for a couple dogs that are 15, 16 years old.
Yeah.
That have been tethered
Yeah.
pretty much their whole life, and it breaks my heart a little bit. But
absolutely.
I'm glad that we can at least give them, you know, this last whatever time they have left, a more enjoyable
Tethered
life.
for 15 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
You can't even
that's-
How
imagine.
do we
No.
know? We usually try and get a background of the history of the dog.
And the
so-
homeowner will say,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting situation, and it plays into, Tim, what you mentioned earlier about people giving the dog a better life than what they had before. So I think for me, Kilo, I love thinking about Kilo. I'm partial to bully breeds. I foster for a bully rescue, fighting for the bullies. Shout out.
Love them.
Yeah, that's where my dog is from. Actually, my sister has one from them. I have one. My mom has two, and my dad has one. So yeah, we're fighting for the bullies family. So of course, my heart gets a little bit, you know, when I see a bully on a chain, and he was just a handsome old boy, and he was a bit older. He was probably, I think, 8 or something like that, and he was chained up kind of in the back of the property, and the owner, he had acquired this dog. The dog had kind of been dumped on him, and we were able to, man, this one makes me want to tear up just thinking about it. So we were able to build attached to his house, to his side door, and he was so excited. He started crying. He had a whole, you know, he gave a speech to all the volunteers about how touched he was, and that this dog was now going to be able to be next to his house. He had plans on being able to bring the dog inside sometimes, and definitely inside during inclement weather. Because now he's an older gentleman, and the dog was hard to handle, and so that's what he thought was the best in the moment for that dog. So I love thinking about that one, because that really was just happy ending all around, and happy ending for the owner too.
Yeah. How old was he?
I think he was about 8. If I recall.
Yeah, and
he was an older boy.
He was maybe a relative's dog.
He was.
That had been kind
He was
of
his
dumped
daughter's.
on him.
Yeah, he was his daughter's dog.
It was cool because that one was also one we partnered with Small Breed Rescue.
Oh, that's right,
They really
yeah.
got to see the
Yeah.
transformation of that
Yeah.
dog. He was terrified.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Oh gosh, and that's another thing that makes this stand out in my mind because that dog, when we first got there, he was petrified of us. He was, trying to get as far away from us as possible on his chain. He didn't want us near him, and when he got out into that enclosure, he was just, oh, gosh. You actually look at our TikTok video. We have a TikTok on that one. And that was also an interesting build because the mayor happened to be driving by.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so she stopped in and said hi and to check it out and let us know that she supported what we were doing. And yeah, that was an interesting build.
What's because I know that animal control, like if they have a list maybe of dogs to survey or dogs that they know there's tethered to stop in and look at or something, do they keep data of how many? Like if you could take a guess of how many dogs in the city currently were on chains or
So
tethered
I
or something.
don't think that we did a records review a couple years ago. And it doesn't always specify if a dog is tethered or not when they go out for a welfare visit, but sometimes it'll specify like dog tangled in chain and so forth. So we were able to narrow it down. It was like probably 2/3 at least
Of the
2/3,
overall.
maybe 3/4, somewhere between there, of dogs that were tethered that they had to go on welfare visits that they got calls about.
And it's really, we've tried to do this before to try to calculate how many are out there, but I would say it's almost impossible to do just because we visually can't see a lot of the properties. So sometimes people are good at hiding it. Or sometimes the dog might be out there 22 hours a day, or 20 hours a day.
Right.
But what we do hope is that now with our new ordinance in effect as of July 1st of 2023, which prohibits unsupervised tethering, we hope that number is going to diminish as we move forward, and we sincerely hope that no new dogs we put on the chain, right?
Yeah.
And Chain Free Knoxville will be here to help all the dogs that were on the chain before that for sure, So we hope moving forward that number is going to dwindle down to 0.
Yeah. And you guys are boots on the ground.
That's
there.
right.
You guys
we
are the biggest force, and hopefully with that legislature coming through, that that'll obviously be supported. And I understand too. When you're talking about animal control, it's like there's only so many bodies for every single
that's
job
right.
within the city government, and hopefully that. As you guys continue to work in the next, 3-5 years, the outlook there that their job could be less focused on necessarily the complaints because there's less dogs on
Absolutely.
trains, animal welfare's at an all-time high to where, it could almost feel more like a day-to-day partnership
Absolutely.
with animal control and you all.
Yeah, and I would say I think we have that. We have a great relationship with them, and I know that they would love for their jobs to be more proactive rather
Absolutely.
than reactive. Really, that's the goal, is to get them out there in the community and do more educational assistance. And actually touching on that too. Chain Free Knoxville, we do a lot of education with owners as well. We really our goal is to kind of break the chain, so to speak, right? And because a lot of people grew up seeing dogs chained, their parents chained dogs, and so, we hope that by having these conversations out in the community, that people will realize that there are other options out there, and perhaps that chaining the dog up isn't the best way to go about for the dog's mental health and physical health and things like that. So,
Awesome. What were you saying?
What you got?
I'm just curious, going back to the ordinance, since this isn't how my brain works, what, do you know, are there any repercussions if, there's a dog outside that's what's the word used, unsupervised?
yeah.
What happens? Like, what are,
Yeah, what sort of repercussions in that ordinance are there for, these caretaker of these pets for unsupervised chain time?
So there's a lot of warnings. So you can do it. It's 2 30-day warning periods. So they come out first and They tell them, hey, you have 30 days to find an alternative. And then they come back out 30 days later. If they haven't found an alternative, they get another 30 days. And then after that, they start accruing a daily citation.
Gotcha.
It's a maximum fine of $50 a day. And
Okay.
that's set by the state of Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the reality is, guys, that animal control, if somebody tells animal control that they're working with us, they're fine.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
fine. So, as long as they're working with Chain Free Knoxville, or they have a plan in place to take care of the dog, because, we do require the spay and neuter. And if you're not
Yeah.
willing to do that, then people can build their own fence. But if there is a plan in place, animal controls they're not gonna hassle anybody.
Right. They're not trying to just
No.
hard law anybody. It's
No,
No.
absolutely
steps in the
not.
right direction. And this is just funny. We're just talking about all this, and it just, before Sarah and I were in fencing, we just buy and sell houses, and we had some rentals in the area. And so we got the opportunity to work in a lot of different neighborhoods, of course. And we had this neighbor on Churchwell. Was it on Churchwell? On that house on Churchwell? This guy, honestly, he worked at night, and he was a trucker, so we didn't see a whole lot of it. But, this is back when Sarah and I would do most of the work. We'd be over there every day. We have our little boy over there with us, and this man probably had 7 bullies, and and hound dogs,
Yeah.
and he had this very specific truck. I don't want to describe it because I don't want people. Everybody knows probably who this guy is, and I remember we'd see all these dogs, and every morning when he'd probably only been home a couple hours, he'd let these dogs out, and they'd run his yard. They're so happy. Some days the man would just lay on the ground, and all of his dogs would be
So
lifted
they lived inside the house.
Oh yeah, and he had a
okay.
fenced yard and
Yeah.
all that, and this man was just so jolly. Yeah, he had this like barely it was a extended cab truck, so I didn't have a full rear seat. You'd see him driving around. He just have 7 dogs in the
Okay, I
cab
love
of
this
it.
story. I thought
None of them-
this was going to be a sad story.
this
I
is
love
just-
this.
I'm just saying that, like, if that's a single man of North Knoxville, though, like, I do want to say so much. And of course, like, he grew up in a house, though, where the dogs were inside and outside. Like, there wasn't any cultural abnormalities besides it just being this single man with 7 dogs,
That's
loving
awesome.
them
I
all.
love it.
He would talk to them like humans. My son would, and there was a couple of hound dogs, so they'd just be they'd be howling, and here's my boy standing right next to the fence, and he's like, they're all so nice. You don't got to be worrying about anything. He'd come over to the house and help us out, and I'd go over there and help him. But it was just this man who was just like, and he went through some job changes too. He's like, I don't care as long as I got my dogs, and they love going on truck rides. You cannot tell me that man was comfortable for a minute with 7 dogs in his truck.
And those are big dogs. We're talking about
yeah.
bullies.
None
and,
of
and
them
hound
were
dogs.
less than 50 pounds. Like, we're talking, I'm like, what do you feed these? I mean, at that point, do you just cut the bag open on the floor and let them pack it
You
a
have to
little
tell
bit?
us some contact information after this. We'll see if he wants to come volunteer with us.
He is
I think
amazing,
he'd be a
though.
great-
He
yeah.
is. He has a big old Bruce Lee sticker on the back of his
Yes, I love it.
He's just, it's just funny though, because I just think of those neighborhoods, and maybe what people think about these neighborhoods statistically, but really wherever somebody is socioeconomically, I do really think it's just going to be the education for a lot
Yep,
of the
that's
people
right.
and the goodwill, but it's also like we all know that person that only has a dog because their sister got it and they couldn't keep it because of
Yeah.
the kids or whatever that might be, his mom's dog. I mean, I even have a friend back out west that just passed away, and they're like, what do we do with his dogs? And like, it was a fight over his whole friend group who's going to care for the animal, and
Yeah.
it's just, I get that people absorb family members that way, but I do think, honestly, I'm glad you guys are really in the field of educating these people, because I just think that if you put yourself in the dog's shoes and you're sleeping outside every night, like, I can sit here and say I like camping, but at the end of the day, do I want to camp when it's 17 degrees
Right.
and raining up, and it's icing over? No, definitely
Well,
not.
and I mentioned the bullies before. Bullies are these dogs cannot, below 75 or above 75, they're
Right.
not okay.
Yeah.
So, especially when you see those short hair dogs outside too in the
Absolutely.
cold. Yeah.
A lot of them are bully breeds and have short hair.
Yep. That's
We
right.
we do encourage people to bring their dogs indoors, especially if it drops below 32 or if there's inclement weather.
Yeah.
Especially if they're a short haired dog or a small dog that can't regulate its body temperature as well.
And that is actually part of the new ordinance requirements too, to bring your dog inside in those situations. And I would say in most cases, people really do that.
I
Yeah,
hope,
yeah. I think they do. At least the people we've talked to, they there's a lot of love for their dogs. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say all the time,
Right.
but you know, there are a lot of situations where people genuinely really care about their dog, and they just don't know how to do anything different. And you know, we actually, this is a great little story. So we had a 16-year-old contact us not too long ago. He saw our yard sign in his neighborhood, and he contacted us about his 2 dogs that are chained up outside. And one of them, this is a little bit of a sad story, but it has a happy ending. So had lived in a shed for almost a year with another dog.
Not ventilated.
Not ventilated. Yeah, it's a very sad situation. So he rescued this dog the dog was in a shed after being rescued from a person that had abused the dog. So the dog was already, the second owner was trying to give the dog a better life. And then they took this dog in, trying to give the dog an incrementally better life as well. So he contacted us. We built a fence for his 2 dogs, there's also a video on that one on our TikTok if you want to see. Oh no, I haven't done a video on that one. I lie. I have not done that one yet. In the queue. So when we had one of our followers, she's an interior designer, she found out about this act that this 16-year-old did. And she contacted us and offered to renovate his bedroom and pay for all of that, do a new design, give him all new furnishings for his bedroom, you know, to kind of repay him for giving his dogs a more comfortable place to live. She wanted to give him a more comfortable place to live. So yeah, so we're
awesome.
in the middle of starting that process right now. I just love that because it shows that there are people in our community that are, you know, so supportive and giving their skills and what they can in any way possible to help kind of make a difference.
That's cool.
And if people see some of these things, I mean, it's just a call to animal control, and I guess they go in the queue, and
Well, they can call us. They
can also call.
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
Now,
It's
if the
just
dog
a-
doesn't have like basic needs, we do recommend animal control. Like if they don't have a house, or you know, if they're out there without water. Of course,
Right.
if they're like tangled in their tether or anything like that, of course, that is an animal control situation versus calling us. But yeah, I mean, if anyone wants to contact us anonymously, we don't reveal where we got the information from.
That's
or
all right.
anything.
We don't do that. So if anyone does contact us, your name will never be given out. However, if you want it to, we can. I mean, we have had some people who have said, I've told the owner, and you know, I'm contacting you on their behalf. So if you did want to contact us, it's info@chainfreeknoxville.com.
Info at Chain Free.
Yeah,
Get that
info
on
at
there, make sure.
chainfreeknoxville.com.
Absolutely. Now let's spit some facts here. So we're sitting here, we're at the very beginning of 2024, right? So obviously I'm sure you guys are gonna have a very fulfilling year, but from today backwards to the very beginning, how many animals have you guys had the opportunity to step in and help? Has there been some outliers that maybe weren't just fencing needs or living situation needs? What do those numbers look like for you guys right now?
So we have been able to free 118 dogs, but then we've also pulled, I believe, 4 for rescue as well. That's not typically something that we do, but you know, if the dog is younger, if the person's not really interested in a fence, and we approach them and they say, actually, we just don't really want this dog. Well, then we don't want that dog in that environment if
Right.
we can help. So typically we do try and get a rescue to pull at that point. We've even had one transported north.
Yeah. Up to Detroit? No.
He's in Illinois.
Illinois.
Wow.
Yeah, we got him pulled by a Great Dane rescue.
That's
We
cool.
couldn't find any regionally, and then we had a volunteer that said, "Hey, I'll drive him."
Yeah.
So she drove 5 hours with this dog, and
Yeah.
so that was really neat. And
We had another one go north too, I thought.
oh yeah. I think he went like south, then north. 'cause
Okay.
he had to do
Yeah.
rescue in Alabama, and then I think maybe got adopted out in New York,
Wow.
Yeah.
right?
I think so, yeah.
Maybe one in Florida. I can't remember.
Yeah. So, I mean, we we'll always work with owners if they want to give up their dog. We just have to make sure there's somewhere for the dog to go.
Right.
That's
That's
safe.
the
Yeah.
biggest delay or dilemma with that is finding a safe place for the dog.
Wow.
And I think you guys have done like 16 fences for us.
That's
whether
I want to
it's
do
like
more. Like
whether it's
Yeah,
a
well,
repair
yeah.
or
Yeah.
like a total fence
inspired.
deal.
only 16 out of the
Yeah.
118. I
Feel
just
like a joke.
yeah, no.
I mean, we
I mean-
will not say no. So
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Tell me about these panels. Tell me about these panels because the whole time I'm like, we're literally just put our fab shop on pause so you
Yeah.
don't hear. I'm like, what are these panels you guys are using? How are you
Well-
acquiring them? Because we could obviously build
Shoot,
those.
if you guys
super
have a
efficiently.
source for us, let us know. We've had a great source out of Alabama. He actually comes up and delivers them. Well, we've modified our process over the past couple years, but now they will actually deliver to the recipient's house for us, so we don't have to transport the panels anymore. But they are 6 foot
cool.
tall, 10 foot long chain link panels. But shoot, I'm all about buying local. So if you guys can
Right.
I'm just-
can get them for us, we
They're
will
kind of a
absolutely.
circular 1 3/8.
Yeah, but we could weld them. The 90-degree corners
Yeah,
are
no,
stronger. Then they
absolutely,
could
yeah.
rack for grade too, because we all live in East Tennessee. Nothing's flat. Like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, like filling
Yeah.
the holes on the bottom of the
Well,
fence. Maybe we could all get together, obviously, after the show or
Oh
another
my
day.
gosh, that would be amazing.
Take a look
Yeah.
at some of these
That would be
because,
great.
like, I'm even thinking about like a smaller version of a temp fence panel. They're very secure. You can kind of rack them to do some grade. You can build gates inside of them.
They
I'm
have
not.
to be 6 foot tall.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Well,
Maybe
sometimes
6
they
foot
can be
tall.
4, can't they, or no?
Well, we typically don't. They could, yes.
Depends on the
It
dog.
depends on the size of the
We've done 4
dog,
and 5. and
or
stuff.
if the dog is known to be a jumper. A lot of times, the larger dogs could very easily get
Yeah.
over a 4 foot
Yeah,
fence.
absolutely.
But yeah, no, I mean that would be amazing because we have not been able to find, surprisingly, we have not been able to find a local provider for those particular types of panels.
Yeah.
And I guess we just didn't understand the volume.
Yeah,
I think the last time I talked, I
118
thought
dogs.
yeah.
absolutely.
Well, it's about one offense a week we try to do. And again, if we had more time, we would do more. We certainly have the
Right.
volunteers and the money. And I mean, by far the biggest expense for us are the materials. By far. That's, I mean, I'm going to pull a number out of my backside here, but I would say it's probably 80% of our overall cost for each build. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Or the
You're talking
actual
about fencing material.
the fencing,
Oh,
the fencing
yeah.
panels themselves and the canopy.
About 80% for the material, sure, but 100% of each donation is right now going to
yeah.
the cost. So it's
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
when you said that earlier, I didn't want to stop you, but it's like, and a lot of people don't realize this, but there's a lot of great 501 filing companies, but if you really look at the financial statements, I mean, some of these corporations get down to like 20 cents on the dollar,
absolutely.
40 cents on the dollar, 50 cents,
Yeah.
80 would almost be high in
Yeah.
the nonprofit world. And, you guys are so grassroots, so passionate. You guys are working so locally that you guys have so much control on the
Yeah.
overhead and what the money goes to. And to me, it's just, like, obviously I love dogs. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't want to say like, well, I'm a dog lover.
But it's
like,
also good to know when you donate, your money is actually being used for what
Absolutely.
you are
Totally.
intending it.
Yep.
That's right.
like
And
they
I-
could donate, hop on TikTok and be like, boom,
Yep.
look at what this
know
company's
exactly
doing.
where it's going. And if anyone ever wants like earmark a donation, like I want it for this specific purpose or dog, we can do that too.
Yeah, we do, and we've done that quite often. We have it's kind of cool. So if you sponsor a fence, you can have a plaque made. We make a plaque and we put it on the fence, and you can have in memory of or in honor of.
Or sponsored
Or
by.
sponsored
with a
by
name.
if you're a business, something like that. But yeah, Tim, going back to what you were saying, our only real cost outside of building materials is our storage unit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really it. And of course, we even get our Microsoft for free. So we try. I'm not ashamed of asking.
Yeah.
I'll ask people all the time. What can you help us out?
Yeah.
We're just a small organization. So it's really.
How much storage do you guys use?
We could use more.
We could use more.
If there's a storage owner in here, guys.
Somebody wants
a
to
few
throw it.
storage
Yeah, that's right.
units.
Actually,
Come
that would
on.
be great because
Yeah.
that would pretty much take our overhead cost down to nothing.
Just fencing
Yeah.
materials and
Yeah, so it would just be whatever we use that goes directly onto the build. Since we do.
Huh?
What else do they need to our 45 listeners?
Hey, this
maybe
one
you
might
guys
go
will get some
50.
more listeners
That's
from
right.
us promoting.
Yeah,
it,
this
right?
this podcast is going to go viral.
Or I
telling you
guess
right
like
now.
what was the?
We got the grill.
They got
You
the
said
grill.
118 dogs total, 118 dogs last year. Or what did that cost in a year? What is that at? Like if someone just wanted to, like, they just want to write a check. Like what is that? Like what's the 24 like goal or what's the?
Well,
What
ideally,
does that cost generally?
I mean, if somebody wants to be super generous, then $1,200 would cover everything for a dog.
For a single
For one
one.
dog.
Each
Yeah.
dog.
For a dog,
Gotcha.
yeah.
$1,200 per dog.
And it does, depending, again, every situation is a little bit different, but, depending on if the two dogs get along, it could reduce that cost per dog down a
Yeah.
little bit. But that's typically where the dollar figure is, about $1,200. And we're working on sponsorship packages for people where if they want to donate, because not everybody, let's be real, I mean, not everybody has $1,200 sitting
Sure.
around. And we tell people this, and it's the honest to God truth. Every dollar truly counts. Every dollar counts. So we have some sponsorship packages we're working on that go down to much smaller figures where people can pay for a spay or a neuter,
Yeah.
or they can pay for an elevated bed, or an igloo.
And we
things like
have
that.
wish lists on Amazon.
Oh yeah, that's
and
right.
Chewy.
That's
Chewy.
right.
Amazon wish
That's right.
list.
We have Amazon wish list and Chewy wish list, and people can go on there, and we have stuff on there that's just a few bucks.
Yeah, we have dog toys, buckets.
How many dogs are in the
Yeah.
queue or I guess that you have on a schedule or
We
that you have to go
three or
talk to?
four
or-
coming up in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, and we probably have a few on the county wait list. Honestly, Jana really manages most of that, and she's not here to give specifics. But I feel like the other day she said we had like 8,
Oh, cool.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I think. But,
Yep.
we have to do the spay neuter and work that out and make sure our panels can get here in time for us to do the fence, all the logistics of
Yeah,
it.
there's a lot of logistics that goes on behind the scenes before people show up on the day to do the build.
Yeah.
A lot of time that's put, towards getting all of that organized. A lot of shopping trips, a
Right.
lot of, talking to, getting materials pulled together. A lot of trips to the storage unit, back and forth. And of course, we kind of touched on this earlier, Tim. But, sometimes there are, many conversations that have to be had with an owner.
Which I want to touch on. We actually have a new outreach volunteer group. So we have 6 new volunteers that are doing outreach,
Yep, that's
which
right.
is
Wow.
super helpful to just
Yeah.
divide that
Absolutely.
up, especially because it can take multiple visits. First you go out and you have to, sign the agreement, make sure the person is willing to do the spay neuter, have the fence, so forth. And sometimes that can take more than one visit.
Yeah, that can take more than one visit.
And then, of course, we have to come out and site for the fence, as you guys know.
Yeah, you know all about that.
Before
You gotta
we build.
plan out where you're going to build the fence
Yeah.
and what materials you're going to need.
Yeah.
And we have a Spanish speaker on our outreach group now,
awesome.
which has been very helpful as well. So we're starting to try to get our volunteers with some specialized skills so that we can kind of divide and conquer a little bit the work.
That's who does the? Because I would just imagine that could go one of two ways. And who does the initial? Is it like a knock on the door? Is it like you source their phone number? Is it
Yeah.
a? I'd imagine that can
we've
be
had a
kinda
whole
awkward.
variety of responses when we knock on that door.
Right. It's very individualized.
Yeah.
So.
Which
Yeah.
takes guts
It's-
for sure, because you don't know who you're dealing with.
My heart's been pounding pretty hard sometimes when you knock on that door.
Well, you never know if somebody's going to be offended.
Right.
Or,
Well,
man.
that's a great point because that's something we found very early on that has been the most helpful for us, and we've embraced it, and it's become a part of our identity. Is that we're judgment-free. We approach every owner. It's a unique situation, and we talk to them. As they are, as a fellow human being, and we're like, hey, we're not judging you how you got into this situation. This is not what this is about. This is about how can we work together to build a better future for you and your pet. And we found that to be really, most of the times, people are very responsive to that. We have there's been a couple scary situations, I would say. Few people that might not have been too happy, but that's very much the exception to the rule.
A few doors slammed in your face here and again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
here and
Humbles
there.
you a little bit.
Yeah, but it's really few and far between.
Which is good.
And I think usually a lot of those people have maybe been approached
Yep.
by neighbors,
Yeah.
kind of incessantly.
Right.
And by the time we get there, they're like
They're
just
fed
like,
up.
No.
They've had animal control called lots of times on them, or
Yeah.
they've had people come and be aggressive, a bit more forceful. So we've had some people that start off like that end up being totally cool.
Yeah.
Once they realize that we're not there to chastise them, we're not there to berate them for how they got in that situation.
Or get them in trouble.
Or get them in
off
trouble.
control,
We're not trying to
yeah.
get anybody in trouble.
No, I've noticed that y'all always, it's like a culture that y'all have set, or like if I'm out there, it's almost like y'all are friends with them.
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
about it.
Yeah, I
and
was
it's
with
such a
Jana
good-
on one, and she's like, "I'll just call the home."
Oh, yeah,
first
absolutely.
name,
Yeah.
everything.
What's
Oh
up,
my gosh.
Dan?
Yeah, how
Yeah.
you doing?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm out here at the
Yeah.
fence man. Da, 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 and I'm just
Oh,
like,
yeah. I text with several on a
rapport.
regular
Great
basis.
rapport.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's what we want, right? We want them to feel like they can come to us and be like, hey, I don't know if I don't have enough money for straw for something, can you help us out as an example? Or, they might want to call us if their canopy fell down or something.
Or if a tree fell.
Tree
or
fell,
whatever, yeah.
and maybe in the past they haven't felt comfortable reaching out to, resources like us, because they thought they might be judged, or they thought that somebody might be like, well, you don't deserve that dog, or you shouldn't
Right.
have that dog. But again, that's not what we're doing here. We're absolutely just trying to meet people where they're at.
wow,
That's awesome.
I love that. Well, there's no doubt, and I'm biased, of course, but there's no doubt that y'all are my favorite organization
Aw,
to do
thank
anything
you.
with in Knoxville. And
Thank
I
you.
think we've just have such a plentiful relationship between everybody down there, my entire staff. I mean, I know that we've had many of our installers had the opportunity to get out on your all's projects, and honestly, it's never anything but positivity from them. They
Oh,
love
yeah.
it. It's just, and it's one of those things to where, like, I truly want to be able to sit here and say, like, any value that we can provide to you all. Like,
Aw,
I just
we
don't
love
want
that.
it.
Well,
I
we
don't
love
want it
Tim's
to be a-
fencing.
We
yeah,
do.
well,
Definitely.
and but we just want to, anything that we can do to help make your guys' next year and coming years, more bountiful for the whole population of Knoxville. Like, we're here
Yeah.
with y'all. Like, we'll partner up on whatever it's going to take. And honestly, like, thank you for coming on today
Oh,
too.
Absolutely.
Oh
You
my
know.
gosh,
Excited.
this is so
Absolutely.
cool! I wish the listeners could see where we're sitting right
Oh,
now.
they can see.
They
Oh, they
can.
can see. Okay. Oh. I feel like that's why I said I feel like it's very, very like a beer vibe. I feel
It
like
is
I
a
need
beer
a
vibe.
beer
Yeah.
or
Beer
something.
vibe. We talk about the beer vibe.
Yeah,
in here.
I know.
backyard.
We need to start doing these at 6 o'clock.
It's just a little early.
I know. I was gonna say it's a little. Start doing like evening podcasts.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Right.
Let's do some tastings in here, some bourbon tasting.
Yeah.
But let's jump. Not my favorite part of the show, but a fun part of the show, our fish bowl here. Do you mind pulling that fish
Oh
bowl?
boy,
Absolutely.
Logan.
Let me read it.
Yeah, why don't you
Alrighty. Favorite bar or
Yeah.
restaurant in Knoxville? Favorite
That's
bar.
cool.
You want to start, Kyle?
I will start, and I'll just full disclosure. I'm going to be a little bit biased here.
So you'll need to get a
because,
runner-up too. It sounds like.
I'm going to say Postmodern Spirits in the Old City, in Jackson Terminal, and
Yeah.
I am biased because I'm one of the owners. So just full disclosure there. But to be honest, for real, it is a really great little place to go if you want a very reasonably priced cocktail. Everything is sourced as locally as possible, and the bartenders are true mixologists. They're there
awesome.
because they love the art of a cocktail, and they love the flavor profiles, and they love creating new concoctions. And if you go in there, they will make you. Is that doggy over here?
She didn't like it.
She's like, no cocktails for me. So yeah, it's a cool.
I heard they don't have a dog park.
Yeah, there's no dog. But actually, Postmodern does have an outdoor patio, so you can bring your dog.
Perfect.
Yeah.
What's the drink to get? Is there just one drink, like it or not, that y'all just knock out of the park and it'd be your recommendation?
Well, my favorite is the Bobby Hill. I love that, and you can make them. You can customize your drinks too. So if you like spicy, you can make them. They can make it a little spicier for you. So it's not like you're going into a run of the mill bar where you just get what you get if it's on the menu, which I think makes it kind of just a unique place to go. So
Yeah.
plug for Postmodern.
Yeah.
And great people watching, by the way, on the patio. Great
Okay.
people watching.
It's a fun place to be.
Yep.
Down there is fun.
And if you don't drink liquor, next door is Pour Tap Room, so you can get yourself a beer.
See?
Yeah.
Self-serve, too.
They
Yeah, that's
donate 5% of their revenue
That's
every
right.
Thursday to Chain Free Knoxville.
That's right.
Oh,
Pour Tap Room
awesome.
does.
Yeah.
Good to know. I
They're
did
a
not
great
know
supporter.
Good on.
What do you got for us?
So I love Sutries. I'm also a bit biased because my husband has foosball tables in there that we own.
Okay.
And also the bubble hockey and the pong machine.
That's a
Are
cool
all ours.
investment.
Yeah.
That is a cool investment.
Little side hustle.
Absolutely.
But he runs Knoxville Foosball. So
Oh,
we spend a lot
cool.
of time down there.
What's your number one memory there?
Oh, God. Well, he had his bachelor party there. It was kind
That
of
was
like
your number one memory? Was his
Well, no,
bachelor party?
Oh gosh, well my number one memory there is probably like when I was pregnant with our daughter and I got sick behind the bar. But it looked like I was drinking, but really I was just terribly ill from pregnancy.
Cut her off.
Got some pregnant girl
Love it.
puking down here.
Yeah, the 8-month pregnant lady in the back puking.
Yeah,
Did you get
Oh, no.
I mean, I feel like nowadays you get people with video camera in your face.
right?
Like,
I
yeah.
know. Yeah, but so that was probably the most memorable. But no, his
no
his
kidding.
bachelor party was like more of a wedding party for us.
Yeah.
You know? So it wasn't one sided, but yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That's what we did too, pretty much. Yeah.
Sutries?
No, we kind of did a combined. Everybody goes their own ways and then back together kind of a deal
Right.
for our bachelor and bachelorette parties.
So what's yours?
I want to go to Logan
Okay,
first.
Logan. I want to
Okay.
hear
Okay.
Logan.
Well, it's just a little joint next to Amazon called Applebee's. Not a lot of people know about it. Just a little hole in the wall. No, I love. I'm a wings guy. Just like wings and a beer. Keep it simple. It's Wings Express on Clinton. Just a great. You can get 50 wings, and they're only like
Great people watching.
great people watching.
watching.
They're like that big, but you just have something to do going through them,
Yeah.
and it's very tough to beat.
Now,
It is
Je-
a biker bar though, so
That's fine though. Now, gentlemen, if you're on a first date, never order
No.
bone-in wings. That'd be
No.
the worst.
Or
Honestly,
any wings.
absolutely,
Any- probably
you
no
should.
wings.
Any food you eat with your fingers,
Just
I would say.
A
Yeah.
Probably not.
carnivorous first date.
Just eye contact, just
That's right.
the whole time.
All right, mine's pretty basic, honestly. After all you guys went, I'm like, well, yeah. Mine's flats and taps, though. you
Yeah,
know?
okay,
And
yeah.
multiple reasons. Our first shop where Tim's Fencing started was across the street
On Shad Road?
Anderson.
I didn't know that. I
No,
didn't
Flats
know
and
it was over
Taps is
there.
right there on Central.
On Central, yeah.
So we were right on Anderson between there
Okay.
and the 275.
I didn't know
And
that's
so-
where you guys
I
started.
didn't-
That is. So
Yeah.
that's what I mean by
Yeah.
these neighborhoods are so near.
Yeah.
Because like Oakwood, Lincoln Park, Park Ridge,
Yeah.
Park City, Magnolia Avenue, Sequoia Hills, just all of those kind of close to the city neighborhoods. Like that's really what built us. Our yard signs on the corners,
that's-
our shops
yeah.
I
in
see
there.
your signs everywhere.
Yeah, we still
All
haven't
over
stopped yard
town.
signing.
That's same with us. It's all about
Yeah.
that building from the ground up,
It's
and
just-
I love the fact that all of us picked local places,
Oh,
right? Like
absolutely.
I love it. That's what makes Knoxville awesome. Our neighborhoods and our
Mm-hmm.
communities.
We need more quality. Like, here's my thing with Flats and Taps, right? I'm not saying they're the best food or they're the best drinks,
They have
but
veggie dogs though.
I didn't know
Oh,
that.
wow.
They do, yeah.
It's the same. It's consistent. Like I love their buffalo chicken pizza, their flatbread, and then I've also been a huge proprietor of their wings. I eat a lot of wings when I go there, and then just they always got a solid beer list. You know, I like drinking an IPA. You know, they always have 3, 4, 5 IPAs on
Yeah,
draft.
they have
that
trivia.
Works. They do got trivia.
And they have the outdoor area in the
They
back.
do. Yeah, they do have that. We've only sat outside.
They don't
a
have
couple
veggie dogs though.
times.
That was another place.
Oh, okay.
Strike that.
No
They do not
veggie
have
dogs.
veggie dogs. Yeah.
No veggie. They do have salads.
They do have
I order
salads.
my salad without olives
Yeah.
personally. Their ranch is very
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
That is very good.
Mike
Oh, it's
McKee.
so good.
That's where I met Mike McKeever. Actually, was at Flats and Taps. He works with us now. He's Tim's fencing guy.
Ah,
One of the greats.
it's the connect. Flats and Taps is the connector.
Might be.
Right.
Yeah.
It might be.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I got. I just appreciate y'all. If somebody wants to donate, how do we do that?
Well, you can go to our website and it has links to our PayPal, our Venmo, our Cash App. It tells you how, if you want to send a check, you can send a check as well. And of course, we mentioned before, we have our Chewy and our Amazon wish list. You can just go on there and search, or you can get links from our website. There are some other ways you can donate, which don't cost you any money at all. You can link us on your Kroger card, and we can get a portion of your money that you spend at Kroger. They have a nonprofit program.
Wow, that's super creative.
Yeah. And of course, on our social media, it really helps if you like and follow us and comment and share, because we're also about building awareness about about chaining dogs in general, and that impacts, that can, we hope to inspire change throughout the country, not just here in Knoxville. And while we're on that topic, quick plug for our social media accounts. We have over 100,000 followers on TikTok.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot for a little Knoxville grassroots organization, right?
That's incredible.
Yeah, so we try to put out new and interesting content on a regular basis on there, and you get to see the whole story of a dog from beginning to end. And we'll also have some other videos on there where we talk about like how to do chicken wire, and like if you're trying to do some stuff at home yourself, some
cool.
kind of tips for you on that. So follow us on social media. It really does help, because the more followers we have, the more organizations nationally want to work with us and give us free stuff for the dogs.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
which
we've
is
gotten
awesome.
free stuff from BarkBox.
BarkBox and,
Coolaroo, which are the
Coolaroo.
beds we use,
Yeah.
those
Yep.
elevated beds.
Yep.
Um,
And we get partnered with other people national at a much bigger level than us in terms of followers.
Maddie and Rudder.
Maddie and Rudder, shout out to them. That's an awesome page. If you guys ever want to have a page where we have like training tips, she uses us as her recipient for Darwin's natural food products. So every time you buy using her code, we get some money.
Wow.
So so it's awesome. So all that to say, every time you follow us and you become a part of our social media community, that really helps us in ways that you might not even be able to imagine.
Yeah.
And even like on Facebook and Instagram, there are direct links to donate there.
Yep, that's right. If you want to do that,
And you can do
too.
birthday fundraisers too, which cost you nothing.
That's right. Cost you nothing. Birthday fund. You don't have to donate yourself. You just create the
Just
fundraiser.
Create the fundraiser,
Yeah.
raises awareness to all of your followers.
Yeah.
on
I tell you
your
what, if they don't know
page.
how to donate now, then that's
Well, we try
so
to-
many ways.
Yeah, we
absolutely.
try to make it easy, and we try to give people lots of different options on how
Yeah.
they can be involved. That because not everybody has money that they can spare. So there are lots of ways that people can be a part of our movement.
We all have done an awesome job, that's for
thank
sure.
you.
We're proud of you
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you.
We
And there's-
appreciate it.
Yeah, bigger things to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go. 2024.
Yeah.
Big things.
Onward and upward.
Onward and upward.
That's
Thanks,
a wrap.
guys. Thanks so much.
Yeah.